All right, here we are, and gotta make sure my levels are getting picked up by the mic there. It's really easy to, turn off your equipment for a few days and then come back, and you don't really think about it, and then you're talking to yourself. Hey Diane, how are you? Good morning. It's 9 o'clock a.m. in Colorado right now. So Diane, you are Eastern time, right? So it's probably 11 for you. Well, today we're gonna do some Animate. So yeah, 11. Cool. I hope you're having a good morning so far. It's very cold here. It actually got below freezing this morning, so that's fun. All right. So yeah, we're gonna do some Animate this morning, and yeah, I haven't done any Animate streams in a while, but we have some things going on with Animate, right? So most likely, along with all the other Adobe software, right, you can kind of expect that new things are on the horizon. So yeah, so I've been working in Animate for some prep, right? A lot of prep for different things, and yeah, so I've been not doing it so much on the stream, but I'm gonna change that, and we're gonna do a little Animate. And actually, November is gonna be completely Animate. It's gonna be a bunch of fundamentals. So I thought a good way to start out today would be to just kind of start creating some content. And what we're going to do is kind of focus on content that will be animated via masking. So masking is pretty cool. Just like with Photoshop or Illustrator, other applications, you can, mask things out, and you can animate the mask itself instead of animating content, which can do some pretty cool effects. And what I'm thinking is, I just got my third Pfizer shot of COVID last week. So after 3 of these things, and I got my flu shot a few weeks ago, so I've had more injections in the past few months than I've had in a really long time. So I was thinking of doing a needle, just have like a syringe kind of thing, and then we could mask out the contents inside of it. Be a good use for masking. So hey, RK Creative, welcome to the stream. Yeah, I stream. I used to stream Animate almost always, but then I started doing a bunch of stuff for course content prep. So I teach at a university, and I teach Adobe software. And I don't just teach Animate, I teach everything basically. So I needed a lot of content for those classes. So I used my streams over the past, 4 months or so, 5 months to actually create content for that. So it's all over the place, So I'm refocusing back to Animate now. Yeah. So the first thing I like to do when I'm drawing stuff in Animate is to change my grid settings. I like to show my grid. And I like to edit the grid too. So let's go ahead and go to View, Grid, Edit Grid. Right now these are 10 by 10 bits and pieces here. I'm gonna make this, let's just double it, 20 by 20. Let's snap to grid. That should be good. You can always try to look at your snapping options too. So snap to pixels is the only thing I have off right now. And depending on what you're doing in Animate, I like to have these on or off. If I'm drawing stuff that has to be very precise, like the syringe, I want all my snapping on, especially my snap to grid, because it's just gonna make things a lot easier, right? So let's go ahead and just start sketching stuff out. There's a couple of approaches to creating objects, right? Whether you're using Animate or Illustrator or anything else. One way is to use something like the pen tool and just like be really precise about everything. And the other way is to just start building stuff out of basic shapes and then, you know, somehow manipulate those shapes, combine those shapes, whatever. So for this, I think I'll start with just the rectangle tool, since a syringe is basically a cylinder. Hey, yes, this is Adobe Animate. Yes. And like I said, I'm going to be doing more Animate over the next couple months. I'm going to refocus on Animate probably for these streams. So, yeah. All right. So right now I've just got my fill to white and my stroke to black, but we could always go over into the tool properties here and make some decisions around how we might want to change that. So let's change the fill to like a blue purple kind of color, and we'll take that alpha transparency down quite a bit, maybe to 20%. And for the stroke, we'll do a darker blue or violet. So I'm not going for realism here either with this syringe. We've had enough of that. I'm going more for you know, an illustrated approach to how we create this. And then rectangle options, yeah, let's go ahead and do a radius, corner radius of about 6. We'll see how this looks. So do a little test, and you can see how well it's snapping, right? It's snapping nicely to my grid because I had it set up that way. And let's make it somewhere around there. And then we've got, what do we have for a syringe, right? We've got a stopper. So if I go ahead and create a stopper, I'm going to create it right now alongside the syringe, right? So it's going to have a plunger that sticks out. And it should also be just about, well, let's just use this as a guide, because it should be about the same size. And then we'll manipulate. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, let's go 6 for that one too. And we'll just change its appearance. So like right now, we've got this fill color that's, you know, 20%. This stopper is going to be 100%, right? And stroke, we actually don't really need any stroke for the plunger. And if it helps, you can always work inside of object drawing mode. Because right now, these are just basic shapes. You can see when I select them, what happens is we get this kind of like pattern overlaid that indicates it's a shape. And if we look inside the properties panel, we can see the object properties that we're dealing with a shape. Sometimes it's easier to work in object drawing mode, especially if you're not combining shapes together, right? So what I'm going to do is double click on here to select both the fill and the stroke. And I'm gonna use this quick action right here, create object. That'll create this as a drawing object. And now it won't intersect with anything else that I have on this layer that is a shape, because that can be destructive. If you have shapes that are overlaying each other, they will actually eat each other. So let's go ahead and create this as a drawing object as well. And with that done, I can now place this right here. So you can see kind of how this is gonna shape up, right? Actually, let's undo that. So the plunger goes in like this. And I'm gonna right click on here and send this to the back. So arrange, send to back. That puts it underneath, right? The object up top. You could use layers for this too, of course. All right, so I'm thinking here, you know, I'm trying to think of how a syringe looks. Usually what I do is, you know, if I'm creating like a real object, oftentimes I will go ahead and, you know, do things like have something like a you know, an actual photo of the thing that I'm trying to recreate. But I don't know. I mean, we can, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? I'm gonna go ahead and add some anchor points here. So one right here. And let's see. One right there. And we're gonna do it on each side because I'm gonna modify this so it's like really skinny, and then it's got the plunger on the end that pushes things out. So RK Creative asks, am I on Instagram? I am on Instagram, but my Instagram is private. So I don't, oh, hey guy. I use that as sort of a private account. Let's zoom in here a bit. You know, one thing I really wish that the Animate team would do is make the stage available for, what am I trying to say? Not available for. Make the stage so that you can, you know, pinch and zoom. Because right now you can't do that. That's kind of a pain. So I'm just shifting these guys up, these little anchor points. And then it's going to be easy enough to... And my snapping's still working, even inside my drawing object here, right? It looks like I did this one a little too much, but that's okay. These are all vectors, so not a big deal. We can do this sort of stuff, and it's gonna work out just fine. So I'm gonna also draw out another rectangle above this for the end of the plunger. Up top here, let's actually have it extend past the vial. And I'm still inside my drawing object, so you can always create a drawing object inside of a drawing object. Animate is very flexible that way. And then, oops, selection tool. And then of course I can go in and delete that. So let's see what we got. Yeah, so you know it's getting there. Got our little plunger, and I need fluid for the inside, right? So let's see, maybe we'll start it around here. So I need that much content inside of there. And let's create that content. So this will be whatever is actually being done here, right? So rectangle tool. And I'm just gonna kill my stroke on the tool itself so I don't have to remove it afterwards. And gosh, what should we make it green? That might be kind of fun. Have like this green fluid. Free transform tool. Oh, so here's something. It's getting to the point now where, yeah, I'm sketching this all in one layer. I'm gonna select everything, right click, and distribute to layers. And that's gonna put everything on a separate layer because it's about time. So this is gonna be the vial or body. I don't know what the technical term is for medical equipment, right? This one is the plunger. I think that's pretty accurate. And then this is the vaccine, or let's call this dosage. Oops. All right, so yeah, so as we go through here too, we can make further changes, but I'm gonna create the rest of the content first. So yeah, hey, you know, those who are on the chat live, on the stream live, let me know what you're all up to today. Because I do like to make this, you know, a chat where it's not just me talking to myself or to emptiness, right? It's better if I talk with actual human persons. Let's take this down to 25% opacity. Huh. Well, actually, let's take the vial. Oh gosh, stupid Mac dock. I tell you. Every time I go down towards the bottom here, I've got two screens going on, right? And the dock wants to jump over to this screen. I wish you could lock it. It'd be great if Apple would be like, hey, we're going to let people lock the dock to one display or the other. They'll probably never do that, of course, but it's something I would love. Let's take this to 40. There we go. Now it looks a little better. Lock it again. Get that green color. Take that up to 42. Cool. Yeah, it's like a little game. You know? It's like, can I effectively do an entire stream where I don't have the dock jumping from display to display, right? The answer is no. Oh, so Diane is making handouts today. So what are you making handouts for? For what class, Diane? And she mentions too she wants to teach her students Animate. Yeah. Yeah, I like to teach Animate. I don't get to teach it a lot for the university. For my real job, right? But I do a little, but I do get to, you know, teach it on, you know, lynda.com, LinkedIn Learning, and, you know, other avenues like that. So yeah, I'm doing workshops and stuff. Oh, Photoshop, yeah. Good old Photoshop. We finished up our Photoshop segment in my large class 2.5 weeks ago. We've been doing the last 2 weeks on Illustrator, and this week we spend working in InDesign. And next week is XD, and the week after that is supposed to be Substance 3D Stager, but we're probably gonna have to settle for Dimension. Which is fine, because they finally have M1 support for both Dimension and Stager, which is wonderful, because it sure took a lot to get that. Yes, it did. All right, so let's go ahead and create the kind of nib of our syringe here. So stroke, let's go ahead and, yeah, let's grab that same stroke. We'll keep that going. I don't care for any radius for this portion, so I'm gonna just kind of keep that as it is. And I'll draw a couple little doodads here. And then we'll have to think about how we want to actually do the yeah, Diane, XD is like in a weird place. I never know like what to think about XD. Although, so I teach a class that we use XD pretty much the whole time. It's like a UI and user experience type class. And they're just starting their group projects right now. Which is funny because I always used to like tell myself that I would never make my students do a group project. Just because I always hated them, but things change, and I find them very valuable now. But yeah, one of the coolest things I added with XD is, you know, if you're working on it together, if you're co-editing with people, you can actually see what they're working on, because there's a little circle with their face and it moves all around the artboard. So if you have like 5 students working on an XD project at once, you've got their little faces like flying all over the place, and you can kind of track what they're doing, which is actually like really fun to watch. I mean, it's productive too, but it's neat. All right, I'm gonna use the line tool to create the lovely needle that we have going on here. And actually, I just realized I'm creating like all this stuff within my dosage. Layer here, which actually, this stuff should all be, let's move that dosage out of there temporarily, so I can select these items, cut, make vial my active layer, and paste in place. Absolutely love paste in place. It's one of the best things. It's nowhere, it's not a new thing at all. You know, Flash had paste in place, but it's absolutely killer. I love it. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make a duplicate of this vial and just transform it for the oops, for the top of the vial here. There we go. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of fun with this stuff, though. Even though, you know, you complain about stuff, which is fine. My strokes are like all messed up. Look at that. They're all goofy. Let's use our ink bottle and see if we can add them again, if that'll fix it. Nope, not really. That's okay. Well, maybe it's not okay. Yeah, let's get rid of this. That didn't work out. There's too many deformations in there. So we'll just create it again. It's fine. We'll just snuggle this guy right up there. Make that 60% opacity. I like changing things up from object to object. All right, this is coming out pretty nice. Kind of, and you know, my sort of visualization for if something's coming out like nice or not is basically, you know, does it look anything like the image that I originally had in my head for this project when I conceived it? And in this case, it does. It looks pretty good. Now, depending upon exactly what we're going for here, you know, we could always use gradients for this stuff. And I think I might do it in this case just to give it a little more dimension, right? So right now we've got this fill, and it's just a gray fill. Gradients are nice, especially for something that's sort of like cylindrical that can have reflections, because you can work reflections into the gradient. I'm not sure how far I'm gonna go with this, but let's give it a crack with some of these other elements here. So I'm gonna do just a linear gradient, and lots of times, like this kind of thing, you can just keep it, you know, just straight black to white, which right now, you know, if we look at it, it looks like garbage, right? That doesn't look good at all, but we can use the gradient transform tool, and there are some really nice things we can do to that. So I'm going to transform it like this. And let's just shift it up a bit. Oops, hey, don't do that. Oh, so see what's going on here? My snapping is still on. So this is something too, like if you're trying to mess with gradient transforms like this, or if you're using IK and bones, things of that nature, even like, you know, plotting warp points with the asset warp tool, turn off your snapping. And because they have all these different snap options here, I like to just go into edit snapping and just kind of like get rid of all of them. Because if I want to turn it off, I want to turn the whole thing off. I kind of wish there was a shortcut to like toggle all snapping. So either toggle it on, toggle it off, anything like that. And I should really like actually ask the Animate team formally to do that. But I have not. All right, let's do the same thing with this. We got this object here. Let's give it some dimension as well. Just a little bit of softness. Go into my color and change this to a linear gradient. Of course, this time we're gonna have to do stuff a little different, right? So I wanna make, this blue. And of course things are gonna be different. I could have preserved that color, right? But I didn't. I think that looks good. Sometimes if I work on a gradient, I'll just add it to my swatches really quick. It doesn't hurt anything, and then you can always, you know, access it from your swatches. And if I don't like it, who cares, you know? Nobody's like keeping an eye on your swatches to make sure you're swatching it all up correctly. Interesting. Not exactly what I thought it would look like, but yeah, it's okay. So I want to add a little highlight around here on the tube, but instead of using a gradient for that, I'm actually going to just have a little highlight that I create, just a little overlay with the rectangle tool. So turn off my stroke, just make white. And then right here, just drag out a little highlight. Actually, let's undo that because I want to create a drawing object so that it sits above everything I'm doing. There we go. That's going to look a lot better. I should put some little marks too, right? So these things, you have to know how much of a dose you're actually giving someone, don't you? Or you can get in trouble. So let's add some little black marks to everything. Stroke size 2, it's probably good. And let's put them like, right, whoop. You know, and here's a good, let's turn our snapping back on. Again, it'd be great to have a toggle for all snapping on. You see, they've got some little shortcuts for all of them, but or not all of them, for 3 of them. But yeah, this makes it. Ooh, hey, what you doing? There's 1, 2, 3. This is a fun project. I'm having a nice time doing this. And I guess that's good enough. We don't have to go crazy, right? Well, maybe put a few more. And you know, I mean, if any of you are medical professionals, give me a little bit of artistic freedom with how I'm envisioning this thing working. Let's actually, for the plunger, make a little line here too. And we'll just change that color to just a darker blue. We can even sample from down there. Yeah, and then it's got maybe a little darker. Yeah, so after this is done, I think what I'll do is I will, I think I'll publish this as an ANA file, which is a Animate asset file. It's kind of a new way of sharing assets in Animate. Ooh, that looks better. There we go. Cool. Well, I hope it's great. I hope I'm being representative. See, I'm not really sure what color the needle should be. Maybe it should be like gray. Like initially I'm like, it should be blue like everything else, but let's make it like a light gray color. And zoom in here a bit. So yeah, right now it's like overlapping. Something we can do here is we can change some bits and pieces on the stroke. So we can have a butt cap, and that's going to give us a nice little there you go. Looks like a needle to her. Cool. You know, I'm gonna turn my grid off now too, because I think we basically have all the pieces of content that we need to start animating this thing. But I am gonna bump this fill up on this a little bit here. I don't want that to be as transparent as everything else. All right. Actually, gosh. So here's the thing, right? You can, of course, just continue making all sorts of different changes to these things, right? There we go. That looks better. So I had it all outlined in blue before. It didn't look quite right to me. This is nicer. Okay. But maybe this should be a little bit darker. What if I just make it the same color as that? I'll just do that. Yeah. All right, I'm pretty happy with it. Cool. So let's go ahead and actually make this something. So right now, this is 3 different layers. We've got our vial layer, which is all this stuff. We have a plunger layer, and we have our dosage layer, which, well, I don't know why the dosage layer got like all wonky. Let's, hey, let's modify that. Oh, look at that. It is as big as it should be. For some reason, it just sort of, and I'm sure it's something I did. But there we go. We'll lock everything down. And one of the newer features inside of Adobe Animate, right, is the ability to select a number of layers and automatically just create a, you know, a symbol out of those selected layers. And this is something that was released, it was within the last year. It was the last version of Animate 2021. So it's not super new, but it's, you know, in terms of the lifespan of Adobe Animate, right? The program's been around for like 25 years or so now. So it's prospectively new. So what you do is you select the layers you want to create a symbol out of. You right click and you say, convert layers to symbol. So before this, you had to like copy or cut your layers and then create a new empty symbol and then paste the layers in. It was kind of a pain. You just say convert layers to symbol. And you get a little dialogue. And it's like, what should I call this? Syringe? Oh my gosh, I know I'm spelling that completely wrong. Hey, anybody in the live stream? I'm gonna look it up on Google here. Oh, syringe. I spelled it right. Syringe. There we go. Syringe is a simple reciprocating pump consisting of a plunger, though in modern syringes, it is actually a piston that fits tightly within a cylindrical tube called a barrel. The open end of the syringe may be fitted with a hypodermic needle, a nozzle, or tubing to direct the flow in and out of the barrel. Nice. Wasn't that perfect? Good morning, Rob. How are you today? Thanks for joining. Movie clip symbol. Let's make this a graphic symbol. All right. So if we look now, we've got a layer called syringe. It's named after the symbol name that I gave those layers. And if we select the instance on the stage right here, once I unlock it, if we select it, we can see it is a graphic symbol, right? So let's go ahead and just kind of like take this down a little bit because it's huge right now. We'll take it down and let's use the align panel to just align it to the vertical and horizontal center of the stage. And let's kill our grid too. This grid is now distracting. Show grid turned off. Nice. And I'm going to change my stage color. That looks pretty good. All right. Yeah, so something like this would be great for like some kind of explainer video or, you know, an infographic or something of that nature, right? So time to animate, right? So I'm going to animate this internally. So I'm going to double click on that instance. We're now inside the syringe graphic symbol. And here I've got my 3 different layers. So I've got vial, plunger, dosage. So what I'm going to want to do is start out with things like this. You know, we could do a couple things, right? We could always have it so that, you know, it's pulling in the dosage, right? So the plunger goes out and it fills up. And then we can have an animation where it pushes out and injects. So let's do both of those things. You know, we've got plenty of time. I have plenty of time. I don't have class until 1:50 in the afternoon, and it's 9:30 right now. So let's see. So to do this effectively, we are going to need to actually, the vial's gonna not change at all. So we can lock that down. That's not gonna be animated. The plunger will be. The dosage will not be. So the plunger itself, we're gonna start the, well, let's do this. I'm gonna insert a keyframe at the 1 second mark to preserve our current plunger position. And then we can go out to 2 seconds and just add in frames for everything. Oops, not a keyframe. Add in frames for everything else, right? So now we've got 2 seconds, and you know, I'm probably gonna have to like squirrel around with this a bit to get it exactly how we want it, but right now it's something to start with. So over here, I'm gonna go ahead and actually modify this. So just select it and pop it way down there. Oh, oh, we're close. Look at that. Oh. All right. That's okay. So close. Animate is very forgiving, right? There we go. Fixed it. All right, cool. There we go. Now we got the proper plunger here. So the first thing we'll do is animate the plunger itself, right? And then what we'll do is we will animate the fluid within the dosage. And actually, I think this should be sticking up a little bit more. So let's go inside of there and make that modification. Just a little bit. That's perfect. And then forgiving, forgiving, forgiving. So nice. I love the flexibility of Animate and its drawing tools. Like other things you can do if you use the selection tool, like maybe we want to put like a little bit of a rounded appearance to this. Like, look at that. Look at how easy that is, you know? I'm not going to do that in this case, but I often use that sort of tool inside of Animate. You know what else we could do, actually? No, I don't want to mess with it. Joseph, stop messing with it. So, notice here, we've got the old one. I can delete that and just paste in place. There we go. Now we got the new one again. Let's add in another keyframe here. And then we'll just modify once again. Our plunger on that middle keyframe. All right, so this is what we got right now. We got plunged and unplunged, right? So pretty cool. Let's see how we're doing here. Oh, we've got a good amount of people watching this. So hello, everyone who's new. Let me know what's up. How is everybody doing? Do you like watching people animate syringes? If you do, welcome. reset my colors. Fill and stroke. All right, so we got our plunger here. For plunging out, yeah, let's start slowly. So we're gonna do an ease in for this. So the first thing I need to do is actually, well, what is this? This is a drawing object. So I can actually just use a shape tween on this probably. I don't even have to convert it to anything else. So we'll go ahead and create a shape tween right there. Look at that. We've already got a tweenerific tween. And I always like to add easing to any of my tweens. It's super important to add easing. It'll default to a classic ease with strength of 0. I want to do an ease in. And let's just try out Quart. See how that looks. Yeah, pretty cool. And we can do the opposite for this guy, right? So we're gonna create another shape tween, boop. And then inside of there, instead of classic ease, we're gonna do an ease out. See this? This is a bug in Animate. This threw me off when I was just recording videos a few days ago for the Max release. This happens with a lot of menus right here. It's a visual bug. And it's kind of awful. This is the production version of Animate too. This isn't a beta version or anything like that. I wouldn't be streaming something like that, just to be clear. But yeah, we want to do an ease out Quart. Let's see how it looks. And we could put a pause in here, right? But I'm gonna actually control that on the main timeline. I'm gonna use, you know, some of the controls that are inherent to looping and keyframes with graphic symbol instances, which is a good way to actually, you know, control your nested animation and without any sort of code whatsoever, you know? So people who don't want to deal with code. And for most like animation, you don't really need to deal with code anyway. But yeah, this allows you to do a bunch of stuff like that. So we're gonna do kind of the same thing. We want the timing to be the same for this mask, right? So I'm gonna create a new layer right above my vial layer. No, right above my dosage layer. And I'm gonna just name this dose mask. It's gonna mask our dose. So dose mask, right click and choose mask. And there we go. Now we have a mask right here and a layer directly under it, our dosage, is a masked layer. So empty keyframes right now, what I wanna do is actually kind of replicate what we have in this layer. So to do that, I'm gonna take the lazy man's way and just kind of like copy this object from our dosage layer and then choose to make the dose mask layer our active layer. And again, paste in place. I'm gonna change the color, make it like super green. I oftentimes use this particular color for things like masks and guides and stuff like that. All right, so that is our mask. Now, what we're gonna do is create some keyframes to match the plunger position. And I'm gonna select both of those frame spans between each keyframe. And of course, we'll create shape tweens. So yeah, a lot of beginners don't know, like, you can create, you know, multiple shape tweens at once inside of your content. So all we need to do now is really follow the plunger, right? So to do that, we just need to replicate the settings that we use for our plunger. So one thing we need to do is, and this is the most important thing, we need to change the mask. Now the way masks work is anything that the mask covers is what's going to be seen, going to be revealed by the mask. So we, at this point, when the plunger is completely out, that's perfect. But when it's like this, this is where we need to actually modify the size of this thing. So what I'm going to do is hold down my command or control key and just kind of like shift that mask down like that on frame 1. And on frame 60, I'm going to do the same exact thing. Just shift that guy down. But you'll notice it's not lining up, right? So if I go in here and I lock this, it's all goofy. It's not adhering to that. That's because of the easing we used, right? So we placed easing on our plunger, but not on our dose mask. And we need to make it match exactly, or else the timing is going to be off, right? So what we can do is just actually copy contents from one ease preset to another. So here in our plunger, notice we have in our tweening area right here, a little gear. I'm gonna copy settings. It's gonna copy these settings. Then I can just select here and paste settings. And look at that. Now it's perfectly aligned. And I'm gonna do the same thing here. Copy settings from this span, paste settings to this one. Let's play it. Perfect, right? So it goes by really quick, but it needs to go by quick, right? Because if somebody's shooting that thing in your arm, you don't want them to be like digging around in there, you know? Your poor deltoid. All right, let's go back out to scene 1. So like I said, we can control this from here. So here we are with our syringe. Let's actually give it a bit of a tilt. And of course, this is all vector. So yeah, we can do all this good stuff. And now if I extend this out to 2 frames, which is the length of our timeline, and I play it back, and there we go, we've got it right there. Let's see. Yeah, the plunger when it's completely out, so we're gonna make this a bit smaller. I made it too big. All right, so what I want to do is I want this to hold, right? I don't want it to like suck that dosage up right away. I want it to hold for a little bit. So what I'm going to do is select this keyframe here, and on the instance we have on the stage, I want to go down to my looping section. And inside of looping, we can go and choose our first frame. So our first frame is going to be frame 1, and we're going to want to hold this. So this option right here, play a single frame for the graphic. So if I choose that and hit play, it's basically a still image. It's just 1 frame. Maybe we want to hold it for about 10 seconds, so I can insert another keyframe here. So these properties for looping are tied to keyframes. So now if I go here and I can say, I want to just play it once from, not frame, well, yeah, from frame 1, yeah. So now it holds and then sucks that stuff up until right there. Let's hold it again right here. So I'm going to insert another keyframe. I want to hold it right there. Add frames out to 3 seconds. I'm gonna hold it till about the 2-second mark. Then I'll add another keyframe. And with this keyframe, I want it to play from frame 30. Goodness. I just got Twitter bombed by Paul Tranny. So he's making note of the the Lottie files integration with Adobe Animate, which we've talked about on my streams before. I should probably do a stream on the Lottie files integration with Animate. Yeah. So if you don't know, Lottie files is a animation format that you can use. It's based on web standards, but it does it in a really smart way. So it has a little kind of player involved and so forth. That lets you play back your animations that you create in After Effects or Animate pretty soon, as you see here. With, yeah, so I'll let them know. Yeah. Oops, shouldn't be a capital J, should it? So thanks, Paul. Just showed everyone on my live stream. Boop. And hey, my friend Andy, who is also in AEL. You can see here he's got a new. So he teaches game development and design primarily. So yeah, cool. His newest game is included in the 2021 art exhibition at ICIDS. So cool. Congrats, Andy. Yeah. But yeah, if you're interested in Lottie files, definitely check out that beta. It's not perfect. I've used it, you know, it's not ready yet for a lot of different things, but there are things you can do with it. All right, back to the content here. Where did my Behance window go? I can't see anybody's chats. My syringes. I love the syringe. I love how this is coming out. This is great. Right on. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish this up because I don't have too much more left. This is actually one of my longer streams. I usually stream for about 40 minutes or so, 35, 40 minutes. But yeah, Animate's just too fun, right? So there we go. It goes down. And I said play once, so it should stop no matter what I do. Let's extend it to 4 seconds and put that to the test. Yeah, so you can see there. All right, so here's the, let's see if the timing is okay. Yeah, cool. I love my little syringe. So let's finish this up. Let's, like I said, I'm gonna make this a asset. So here's my assets panel, but that's not what I want. I want my library panel. So we've got my asset right here, the syringe. And if I right click on here, notice I can export asset or save as asset. So this is gonna let me share this entire asset with whoever I like, and they can import that asset into their own assets panel. So I'm gonna say export asset. I wanna export the objects, so the vectors that I have here, and also the motion content. So keywords, syringe, COVID, injection. There we go. Export. Now I can save this. Let's actually lowercase s. And notice this is an ANA file. That's an Animate asset file. Save that up. All right. Hello, welcome to the stream. We're in the winter portion of the stream now. But welcome nonetheless. It is winter in Streamland. So another thing that's kind of new, but not really, inside of Animate that I'm gonna do right now is actually put in some layer effects. So notice this is a graphic symbol instance, right? So if I wanted to put a drop shadow on here, which I do, I can't do that from right here. I can use color effects on a graphic symbol, but you can't put in things like filters. However, with advanced layers, and I write about this a lot in my book, you can see it over there. Advanced layers, you can use blend modes and you can use filters. So I'm gonna add a filter to my layer and it's gonna be a drop shadow. Ooh, that looks awful. Let's go ahead and make that high quality. Take the strength down 1,000,000%. And put in some blur on that. Change the distance. Gosh, take the strength down even more. Wow. So I remember back when Macromedia introduced these filters inside of Macromedia Flash Professional 8 as part of their Studio 8 release. Yeah, look at that. Nice. Just a subtle little shadow there. And you know, we could do some other stuff too. I don't know. Oh, now notice all my keyframes are white now. So that is what indicates that we are using advanced layers and layer effects on these specific keyframes. So I want to put a little message in here too, and then we'll be done. So I'm gonna add a new layer. I'm gonna lock down my syringe layer. Call this message. Add a keyframe. Then use my text tool. Ethnocentric. It's a cool font. Very kind of tech looking font. So really good at Flash back in the Flash days. Yeah. No, I mean, a lot of the stuff has carried over for sure. You know, it's definitely a evolution of Flash more than a completely new product like Edge Animate was. So yeah, I mean, you still got shape tweens, you still got motion tweens, still got awesome vector tooling, but you've got a whole bunch of additional stuff. And even more stuff coming, which is always great. So I want a little pro inoculation message here, but I don't know what font to use. I mean, we could use ethnocentric, I guess. It's fun. Let's sample from here. So, whoa, what? There we go. Help end the pandemic. I hope this isn't too political or anything here. Get vaccinated. But honestly, I mean, you know, as I mentioned before, I'm I've had 3 doses now of Pfizer. And the first time I didn't get very sick with side effects and things like that. The second and third time, it was awful. It was absolutely just like, oh my gosh, like this feels terrible. But I would absolutely do it again because I want this over. Yeah, Diane, I had my third, when was it? It was last... So Chris Georginas, who is a well-known flashy type person, is tweeting about the Lottie file stuff now in response to Paul and myself. So yeah, people are very excited about the Lottie files extension for sure. Oh, so there's a question from Rob. Is there still some form of ActionScript? Yeah, so actually, I mean, I'm using an ActionScript 3.0 document to create this right now. Generally, people use ActionScript docs for... Go Twitter. And you see, if I was doing like a formal presentation, I would never have like all this stuff on and be like, you know, looking at Twitter and things like that during a session. But still going. But you know, I see these streams as more of a community thing more than anything like you know, anything formal. It's more fun. Let's make this a different color. Let's make it purple. Ooh, not that purple. That's a little, yeah, I don't know. That's pretty good. Yeah. And then we can also, of course, add some filters to this. So let's go ahead and put that drop shadow on there. And actually, you know what I can do is I can actually copy, just like I did that other stuff, copy all filters right here. And then go on to that, and I can say paste filters. And then it's like, nice, I got all my filters all pasted up nice. And if I want to, of course I can go through and, you know, make adjustments to this. So maybe the distance, I want to shore that up a little bit. Take that blur. Oh, that's super weird. Why is it doing that? Oh, there we go. That looks better. Yeah. Actually, I like that look with the drop shadow like super like hard like that. Let's make it black. Why isn't it? Oh, because I have the strength down, of course. Hey, what the hell's a pandemic? It's like a bunch of pandas coming at you, right? See, now I want to animate like a bunch of pandas with these needles coming in, right? Pandemic. Help end the pandemic. Did I spell that right? My goodness. Pandemonium here. Good old Google. Let's see. Yeah. I can tell. It's an easy thing to tell because you get all these lovely news articles that come up right away. Hey, Chris. Yeah, that's an idea for you, Chris. So, I exported this syringe as an ANA file, so an Animate asset, and I'm gonna share it later. But here's the basic animation of it, right? So, you know, you'd be much better at animating pandas than myself. So if you want to grab this ANA and equip some pandas with it, we can have a real panda emic. All right. You know, of course it's a panda emoji. There we go. Yeah, so if you're registered for Max, and I say this every time that Chris comes up, make sure to register for Chris's session because it's on Adobe Animate. And my understanding is he does some fun stuff in there. So check it out. Register for Chris's Adobe Max session. I'm registered for it, so. Wow, 338%. That's kind of crazy. I don't know if I need it that strong. Yeah, maybe I should make this look a little more psychotic. Ooh, look at that. Yeah, Chris, I don't think you were here before, but I was mentioning you know, filters and things like that, and reminiscing back to Macromedia, Studio 8, and Flash 8, and things like that, which I'm sure you had plenty of experience with. Do you remember that there was like a contest when they like released all the blur filters and everything, filters and stuff like that? There was a contest with, I think it was Scion. Is Scion even still a company anymore? But I actually did some stuff with that, and my submission, I became a finalist for that thing, which was fun. But I never actually got my stuff. We were moving houses at that time. I was moving into this house right here, and so that's how long I've lived in this house at this point. And yeah, they sent me a finalist like gift kind of thing, but I never received it. And I swear the guy who bought my old house like kept it. Here, I'm gonna turn these text here into a symbol so I can animate it all together. So modify, convert to symbol. COVID message. I don't know why it's in all caps. It's just what I did, you know. Wow, that's cool. Over 9,000 people have registered for Chris's Animate session at Max. Yeah, I think, gosh. So when I used to do labs, the last few years of Max that I did, they gave me pretty big labs where I had like 80 to 100 people per room. And then they'd have me do like a lab every day over the 3 days. So I can't math very well. Well, it'd be like 300 people, right? So yeah, 9,000's pretty nice. All right, so let's actually animate this guy coming in here. We're gonna make it really quick. So I'm gonna put a keyframe right here. And then back here, we're gonna take this instance color effects alpha and just blow it down, way down. Then we'll place a little, now notice we can't do a shape tween for this one, right? Oh, that's cool, Chris. So Carrie's still working. That's cool. Yeah, no, she was always really great to work with. And I know some of the people who are usually, you know, organizing and Max have left since then, but she was always super. And I remember a couple times, like, she would pop in, like, first day to my lab and be like, you know, is everything okay? Can we do anything to help with stuff? And it's like, you know, it's just great that they, I mean, of course they care about it, but, you know, she could have sent somebody to do it. She's got plenty of people that work for her. So that was always really appreciated. Classic tween. Boom. Ah, look at that. Ooh, that's really fast. Let's move that keyframe over a little bit. Actually, let's shift this over altogether. So you can select a frame, a span of frames, and then just like move the whole darn thing over just like that. Let's move it over even more. You know, now I'm actually like, oh, I kind of wish that I had just kept these text layers separate instead of making a unified symbol out of it. But that works. It's good. All right, let's view the whole thing. Actually, let's change this a little bit. Just put a little soft ease in out on here, just a sign. Yeah, it's just very soft. Boom. Let's see what this. Actually, let's do a test movie. We haven't done a test movie yet on this thing. Let's actually do a test movie and see how it looks. And it's probably gonna opens up. I don't know. It's pretty good. I don't know. Yeah, Chris, yeah, I complained about that bug when we first put our easing effects on there. It's something that I recognized when I was going through and recording videos for the new release coming up for LinkedIn and all that jazz. Actually, look at that. There's a little error in here too. Let's remove. So this little line that I have right here, look at that. It's not quite shifting like I want it to. So sometimes the thing is, like, if something gets weird, just get rid of it. Oh, and of course there's 3 different instances of this because I didn't make it an actual symbol. So we're gonna go in here and clean up each one, which is fine. And I'm just being picky now. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. So Chris asks, do you use the timeline panel shortcuts for keyframing and tweening? Yes, I do. I used to always use the keyboard shortcuts, but these are just like right there. If you're messing in the timeline, it's not a big deal to just shift your finger up a little bit and hit one of these little shortcuts, right? Yeah, so I definitely do use them. And it's nice too when you're doing stuff and trying to like demo for people and doing stuff with video, because then it's something visual they can see. They can't see when you hit F6, but they can see when you go in here and you're like, okay, I'm gonna long press here and click on keyframe and boom, you know? Yeah. So I do use it for a number of reasons. For convenience for myself, because it is so close to the timeline. Well, it's part of the timeline, really. And yeah, I mean, also because it's got that visual aspect to it. let us, and I know I'm gonna get shit for this probably if I post it on social, right? Oh, that's cool. See that little shift the text does as it sort of like comes in? That's like an unintended effect, but it's actually pretty neat. Let's go ahead and publish this to Twitter and see how many people come after me for being pro-vaccine. So a lot of different Adobe apps are coming out with this feature now. Animate has had it even longer than like Premiere has, right? There's this little quick share button right here. So if I click that, I can choose to quick publish, quick social share. I'm gonna social share to Twitter. And it pre-populates with some tags and everything. So I'm just going to help and the pandemic. Get vaccinated. Do it. Enough of this shit. Pardon. So, there we go. So now all I gotta do is share, help, and the. I want to make sure. Oh, look at that. I wrote pandemic again. This is why you always proofread, right? All right, let's share. There you go, publishing in process. You have to animate the pandas. I just keep doing it, you know? There's certain things like I can never spell receiving correctly, you know? I always mix up the E and the I. And I know I do it, but that doesn't matter. I continue to do it again and again and again. Yeah, there's just like little things. It's so stupid. And you know what? This started to happen to me. This other thing, which is like ridiculous. It doesn't have anything to do with words necessarily, but whenever I type in animate, I tend to leave my finger on the shift key for a little bit too long. So A-N are capitalized, and then the rest is lowercase. And this actually started when I was writing my book on Adobe Edge Animate, when that was a thing. Just completely, like, throughout the course of my authoring that, I was making the same stupid mistake, like, again and again and again and again. And you would think that that would be, you know, that there would be some kind of way to, like, recognize that in a person's mind and self-correct, right? But no, I still do it even with Animate now. So it's a bit ridiculous. So yes, MP4. Yep. Yeah, so it's going through, it's doing its thing, I think. Although there's always these issues with different Adobe apps talking to Media Encoder. You can see we're kind of stuck at 30% here. Something I would always recommend, and which of course I didn't do, is Media Encoder. You know, pop open Media Encoder first before you try to do any sort of publishing, even quick publishing. That usually takes care of any issues. So I'm opening Media Encoder right now. We'll see if it catches what Animate's trying to throw at it. Wow, this is the longest stream I've done in probably like a year. Yeah, it should. It should launch it. but it doesn't always do so. You can see it's stuck at 30% here. I launched it, Chris, on my other display. Yeah, because, oh, look at that. It did it. See that? That kicked it off. So it's, oh, what's this? Oh, look, I haven't done this yet. Cool. So if you've never, so this is kind of a new machine that I'm running this on. And I've never actually done the social share on this machine yet, which I'm surprised it doesn't remember from before, because it's kind of like a Twitter thing. But I have to authorize the application to have Animate actually, well, yeah, I didn't. Okay, let's do this on my other screen. Oh my goodness. Can I? Oh, it is letting me, okay. So you can see here it says now authenticating, which of course it is doing. No, my password is all asterisks, Chris says, which isn't true. My password is 12341234. Actually, I don't know what my password is for Twitter. Time for guessing games. That's not it. Wait. You know what? I don't want to lock myself out of Twitter. Oh my gosh. Let's see. I'm going to go into Chrome and find my password. But of course I'm doing this on my other display, because you all don't care what my password is. And apparently I don't care much either, since I can't remember it. Oh, no way. Huh. That's fun. Huh. Well, that was the password. I have two-factor authentication on, which is a pain, but I would absolutely recommend that for most things people use it. Because it does give a nice bit of security that you don't have otherwise. Oh, there we go. Uploading in progress. Look at that. Shared successfully. So I can view in my browser from here, or I can hit OK. And, oh, where'd Twitter go? Oh, there it is. Hey, Twitter. And there we go. Look at that. There's my little tweet. Now I'm going to get people coming at me. Joseph, I thought you were smarter than that. I can't believe you got the death jab. Yeah, 3 times. I'm triple kill. Oh, thank you, Chris. Yeah, so that's how that works. It's pretty fun. It might be fun. No, I'm not gonna even say that. Yeah. Pandemic hate tweets. Yeah, it's surprising. No, honestly, like almost everybody that I know has no problem with it, right? But, you know, there's people that, especially with something like Twitter, you know, like I still have a bunch of people that follow me on Twitter for stuff I used to do like 10 years ago, you know, that I like don't even do anymore. Like lots of stuff with like I don't do web stuff anymore. You know, like general like website stuff. I don't write applications anymore. I'm not a developer anymore. But people still come to me for that stuff because for a while I was. And, you know, a few months ago after I got my, well, gosh, it was probably like 6 to 8 months ago now, when I got my first Pfizer shot, you know, I was happy about it. And somebody that I used to know, they really got on me about it. And I'm just like, are you serious? But yeah. Yeah, so the death jab, haven't heard that one before. Yeah, so in some circles, the third dosage is supposed to be the kill shot. Like the other two, they prime your system for the kill shot, for depopulation. And actually, I shouldn't be saying this stuff because this is gonna go on YouTube, and YouTube's probably gonna like put a strike against me, even though I'm just relaying what, you know, what people say about it. I don't mean it, YouTube. So don't delete my video, okay? All right. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, the third one for me, like in all honesty, like the second was worse in terms of side effects. And most people that I know, like, haven't even gotten side effects from it. I happen to be one of the lucky people that gets like sort of like a flu for the next like day and a half. So with the second one, it was awful. The third one wasn't as bad, but it was still a little rough. But again, I would completely do it again. Yeah, Chris had 0 side effects. Most people I know have had 0 side effects. I don't know why I lucked out. Sucks. But it's okay. All right. Well, cool. That's it. We are done. And this has been the longest stream that I've done in a long time. And the only way that I ever do a nice long stream like this is if I'm having fun producing the content, and if I'm having good conversations with all of you. So thank you for joining, for real. Yeah. Oh, Chris says, thanks to the, I like the flesh tone background. I didn't mean for it to be flesh toned, but now I see it. Yeah. It was unintentional. It's just one of those things. All right, cool. Well, I'm gonna shut the stream down. So thanks again, everyone, for showing up. And next week, I can't remember what we're doing. Let me pull up my Behance profile. There it is. Hello, Behance profile. Yeah, so here's what's going on right now. If you go to work, which I don't consider it work. Oh, I love my little ghosts and pumpkins. All right, here we go. So if you click on this guy here, it's got my, so I'm doing some horror drawing with fresco on the 22nd leading up to Halloween. So that should be fun. I'll probably draw some like corpses and things with fresco. So if anybody wants to join me for corpse drawing, tune in next week. Right on. I've got too many windows open here. All right, see you all later, everyone.